Well, Fanatics Fest was a smash hit this weekend in New York City, drawing in over 125,000 fans in its second year. One of our very own, Jenna Falkenheim, was at the event, and she joins us now to talk all about it. Jenna, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So, Jenna, 70,000 fans last year in its first year, over 125,000 fans this year. It sounds like there was something for everyone. Talk about the different sports leagues that were represented at the event.
So NFL was there, NHL, MLB, everything that you could think of, even MLS. They had a little setup for football versus football, which would be the soccer in the US versus the soccer in Europe, which obviously they call football. It was just, there was so many things that you could think of. Even the PWHL was there. Everything was there for anyone versus full-on adults, kids my age, or I should say college kids, or even just little kids in general.
Sounds like a blast. Now, who are some of the big-name athletes and celebrities there, and the ones you were most excited to meet?
So personally, as a Devils fan, I was very excited to meet all the Hughes brothers, including Quinn Hughes, but mainly Peyton Manning and Eli Manning were there. Tom Brady was there. We had Jay-Z there as well. You know, obviously Jay-Z is not a sports guy, but he had his 40-40 club that was presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. There was Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, the iconic Derek Jeter, and A-Rod. The list just keeps going. Honestly, it was just phenomenal to be there and see all of these different people that have just made such an impact on the sports world.
Well, one of the panels included Tom Brady and rapper Travis Scott, and the panel ended up turning into a Travis Scott concert. How did that happen, and what was the reaction from fans?
So it all started with just Tom Brady talking to Travis Scott about him just being a music legend. And then CEO of Fanatics, Michael Rubin, came in saying how it would be crazy just to have a little concert. And little did they know, this was really not planned. Travis Scott planned this behind Michael Rubin's back, but it ended up becoming an amazing thing where smoke just coming up on stage, they had their crew taking away all of the seats, and it just became a whole Travis Scott thing. Everyone that was there for the panel, did not expect, obviously, a concert, but they were there to also see Travis Scott. So they got their fan side of being a lover of Travis Scott to come in and just see him perform. Like, that's not what anyone expected, but it just became such a big thing and probably one of the biggest parts of this weekend.
What a nice surprise for them. Now, who were some of the athletes that a lot of the fans were looking to take a selfie with or get an autograph from?
So a lot of them probably went between WWE players and the MLB players. When it comes to MLB, I would say it would be A-Rod and Derek Jeter, as they're obviously icons and Hall of Famers. And then also mainly Anthony Volpe, as he's had an amazing season so far. And he's just done absolutely amazing. And he is such a sweetheart to the core. Like, anyone that would come up to him, he would have a conversation. He wouldn't just sign something and send them on. Like, he would take the time and actually talk to them.
It's a humble and nice guy from what I hear. Now, speaking of autographs, you told me that Davante Adams signed a taco for a fan, and the fan ate around the autograph. You witnessed this firsthand. That had to be one of the most unusual autograph requests you've ever seen, if not the most unusual.
Yeah, most definitely. At first, I was like, oh, maybe this guy was just eating a taco, like, because he was hungry. Like, I didn't expect him to hand it to Davante Adams to sign it. Obviously, I was there just to take pictures, but everyone around me, including myself, we were like, is this actually happening? He handed it to Davante Adams. Adams just signed it, like, with no question. Obviously, he was a little confused and baffled by it, but he did it. And then afterwards, ate it. He took bites around the signature, and Devontae looked at me like, did that actually just happen? Because I was in shock as he was, and even his security couldn't keep a straight face. Like, who would have thought that a kid would bring taco to get signed and then take a bite out of it? So you'd think at the very least he would maybe put it in a Ziploc bag to savor the signature, but he didn't even do that. Like, he took a bite of it. It was definitely very weird, but it was interesting.
Curious to know how much that's going to go for on eBay. Now, WWE fans must have been in their glory during the SummerSlam kickoff event, and I heard the moment got pretty heated. Talk about that.
Yeah, so SummerSlam was definitely a big part to remember for fans this whole weekend because, all of it was just yeah, it was just huge. Like I honestly am kind of speechless to it because the way that it all like transpired was absolutely insane. There was certain like heat offs between wrestlers that you didn't exactly expect. Obviously, that's a common thing with WWE wrestlers, but just having the interaction they had with the fans and building that big craziness of excitement was just beyond crazy. Like I was in a different at that time for part of it. I was not actually at that stage, but you could hear everything that was happening from there at a different part of the venue. Like that's how big it was. You could hear the fans, you could hear the music. Hearing the fans from a whole different part of the venue just goes to show like how crazy it was and how monumental it was for the WWE fans.
Yeah, yeah. Now, one of the other highlights of the event, Kevin Durant found out he got traded from the Suns to the Rockets while he was speaking on the panel. How did that go over, and what was his reaction?
Yeah, so it ended up that a fan stopped in the middle of a questioning saying that he got traded and he didn't believe it because like obviously his agent didn't come on stage and like let him know he was in the middle of a panel. So he was like going around to like looking at people like, did this actually happen or is this fan just speculating? Obviously, fans could say whatever they want and obviously try and rile him up. His response at first was just, I mean, we'll see, man. Those were his words. And those were his words for not knowing it actually happened. And once someone confirmed it happened, he was happy about it. I mean, obviously he got traded to a decent team and it is what it is. Like you're in the sports world as an athlete, you're going to get traded. It was just the timing was very interesting, and he did not expect that it would at least come from a fan at first.
Now, this might be a tough question. What was your favorite part of the event, and what was something you learned while you were there?
I think my favorite part of the event, as being a sports fan myself, was probably seeing all the kids and even full on adults get their autographs from players. Just seeing the excitement that they had was just, it was heartwarming to see, especially with those that would truly take the time to talk with the fans. Specifically, I would say Jack Hughes, because he had people who didn't have autograph tickets that were wearing his jersey and would walk by and he would stop them and say, hey, come here. Like, do you want me to sign your jersey? Like they didn't have a ticket, but like, he's just a down to earth human being. Like his parents raised him well. Like they didn't pay for a ticket. He didn't have to do it, but he's just that type of person where like, he's not the average like jerk stigma that there is on athletes. Like he didn't care that they didn't have a ticket. They saw he was wearing a Devils jersey, specifically a Hughes jersey. And he wanted to do that. But just seeing that the fans' reaction to that, especially when they didn't have a ticket and it wasn't planned, was like, it was just awesome as a sports fan seeing it myself. But then otherwise, something that I learned from it is that you need to have a schedule going in, regardless if you're covering the event or going as a fan, because there's so much to do. If you have the 3-day pass, you really have to schedule out what you want to do every day. Otherwise, it's a free for all. But just everything that was there is so much fun, so interactive. Like even just the merch village was just fun to walk around multiple times. So you got to know what you want to do going in, but there's always something to do and there's always something to keep you busy. And it's just fun also meeting other sports fans.
Great stuff. Our very own Jenna Falkenheim. Glad you had a great time, and thanks so much for coming on to share it with us.
Yes, thank you for having me, Mike.
Of course. Coming up, the Sussex County Miners are cruising along this season. The team's most devoted fan joins me to talk about their success. Stick around. Well, the Sussex County Miners baseball team is having a historic year so far, and there is no one more excited for that success than the team's #1 fan, Miner Man. And right now, we get to know the man behind the mask. Miner Man, thanks for coming on.
Woo! Great to be on here, Mike. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about my favorite team, the Sussex County Miners.
The pleasure is all ours. So before we get to the team, talk about how you came up with this identity, Miner Man, and why did you decide to become a super fan?
Wow, well, it all started back at Star Wars Night, one of their promotions that has gone on for all 10 years that they've been there. And, I got this crazy idea to have my wife and daughter paint my face like Darth Maul and put it in Miners colors. So I walked around the stadium saying I was Darth Miner. And midway through the game, my daughter looked at me and said, "Dad, you got a painted face and you're the only one." And I said, "What do you think about that?" And she says, "I think you should paint your face every game." And it just clicked. I said, "Wow, that's what we're missing here. We're missing a super fan." So I started painting my face and just showing up and dancing around and having a great time. And, well, they never kicked me out. So I became Miner Man.
The rest, as they say, is history. Now,
that's right.
Now, when you think of baseball teams in New Jersey, we tend to think of the Trenton Thunder or the Somerset Patriots or even the New Jersey Jackals. With that said, do you feel like the team is becoming more recognized?
Absolutely. They're very heavily involved with the community here in Sussex County. So they have a huge fan base here in this area. They reach out past Sussex County. Believe it or not, we get a ton of international fans that come in and check out our games. And so now we're internationally known, to be honest with you. Many of those fans leave and they start following the Miners and they follow my social media accounts. So, yeah, definitely they're doing a great job at putting their brand out there. And I think we're more popular than the Jackals, but that's just my personal opinion.
You probably aren't. It's great to hear that they're giving back to the community. Now, on the field,
Yes.
The Miners are having a great season here in 2025. They had their best ever start at home, going 10-1. How different is the mood among fans this year compared to last year when they went 33-62?
Wow, I mean, huge difference, of course. Listen, I mean, we're true fans no matter what. We're going to root for our Miners, whether they're losing or winning, but winning definitely makes a difference in how the fans react. I mean, we've pumped it up a lot this year. I mean, the fans are excited. They're happy. They love coming to the ballpark every game, especially home games, since we do so well at home. Yeah, I mean, the enthusiasm is there. And listen, I mean, we're the second best team in the Frontier League right now. So, there's a lot to be happy about there.
Now, are there any matchups that fans look forward to? I know one popular rivalry is the Miners have is the Battle of New Jersey with the Jackals. So talk about some of the good rivalries.
Right. Well, you talk about the Jackals. Actually, the same family owns both teams, the Miners and the Jackals, right? So that's always been our biggest rivalry. Of course, we won the Can-Am Championship in 2018, and then they beat us in 2019 for the Can-Am Championship. So that's always there. Even though we've kind of done very well against them this season, it's really always a tough matchup. But the biggest challenge this year is against the Quebec Capitals. That's our biggest rival right now, especially since they're the #1 team in the Frontier League, and we're right behind them. They've won the championship 3 years in a row. So to be the man, as Ric Flair would say, you got to beat the man. And so that's our toughest challenge right now, for sure.
Well, we talked about home games. Can you talk about their venue, Skyland Stadium in Augusta, New Jersey? What makes it fun and unique?
Wow. So I call it our own little field of dreams out there. I mean, there's not a bad seat in the house, of course. The landscape behind the stadium, it's all wonderful large trees. When the sun's out and it's setting, it's just awesome to see. They do a lot of great promotions there all season long. From Star Wars Night, as I mentioned, we do a casino night to raise money. We do our 4th of July, which is coming up, is the biggest fireworks spectacular ever. And this year, we're actually incorporating our hometown heroes into that. And we're every year we pay homage to the firefighters and the police officers and the EMS around the area. So that's a huge event. And we do a lot of on-field activities with the kids. Sundays, you can go on the field and run the bases and meet the players and get autographs. We do a lot of in-game games where people win prizes. And the most unique thing about this experience is actually the staff at Skyland Stadium and the people that work for the Miners. They really make you feel like you're part of the Miners family from the first moment you step in that stadium. And every time you show up, they remember that you were there. And you can't get that at a big league stadium. I mean, you're just really a number at a big league stadium. And so that's the most unique part about it. And that's what really drew me to, being at the Miners as well.
That's fantastic to hear. Now, in addition to yourself, another attraction at the park is Herbie the Miner, the mascot. Yeah. How important is he for the team, and do you have a relationship with him?
Of course. He's my best friend at the stadium. I mean, listen, him and I have the same goal, and that's to entertain the fans and have a great time. And he is the most vital piece of Miners history. They've been around this is their 10th year anniversary. There's a story behind Herbie the Miner. When the family was trying to come up with a concept, that concept actually came from a family member of theirs who looked very similar to what Herbie looks like. And because the history of Sussex County is in the mining business, that's how crucial it was to get the right type of mascot there and to draw the people in from Sussex County and to show that that the Miners were really in tune with the county's history. He may not talk like I do and he may not woo like I do, but he really attracts the kids, has a great time there. Everybody loves Herbie. I'd say he's probably the best mascot in the Frontier League, but I'm a little biased.
That's a great story about Herbie. Now, finally, Miner Man, any predictions on how the team is going to finish this year?
Well, I mean, I don't want to jinx anything because they're doing so well, but I will definitely say because of the division that we're in right now, we have a 9-game lead over second team in second, which is the Boulders. That's a hard thing to for them to come back on. So I think definitely playoffs this year. Again, our biggest hurdle is Quebec. We played them 6 games this year, and we've only gotten 2 wins from them. So that's the team to beat. So, but definitely playoffs. I'm looking for a championship this year. It's our 10th year anniversary. I think it would be the best season ever if that happened. But I don't want to overstep.
A loaded question, but a great answer. Miner Man, thanks so much for taking the time, and here's to an awesome season.
Wow. Well, here's a woo for you. Woo! Let's go, Miners!
Love it. Well, after going 9-0 to start the season, the New York Liberty has fallen back to earth, losing 2 of their last 3. Geoff Magliocchetti joins me after the break. Well, after going 9-0 to start the season, the New York Liberty has fallen back to earth, losing 3 of their last 4. Geoff Magliocchetti joins me now to talk about those matchups, including a loss against the Indiana Fever featuring Caitlin Clark. Geoff, great to see you as always.
Mike, thank you for having me on. You guys do great work. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Always our pleasure to have you on. So, Geoff, the Liberty's first loss came against the Indiana Fever, and as much star power as they have, the Fever had a pretty pedestrian record heading into the game against New York. So where did it go wrong for the Liberty?
That record was somewhat deceiving considering Caitlin Clark had been missing some time due to injuries. Indiana was severely shorthanded in the early stages of this season, losing Caitlin Clark, losing Sophie Cunningham, who's proven to be a force in more ways than one, and losing head coach Stephanie White to personal reasons. But at the same time, New York is going through a little bit of that right now as well. Against the Fever, it was a tough break for New York because, they fell victim to Caitlin Clark out there. They lost their sense of spacing in that game. It's generally not a good idea to give Caitlin Clark any form of space, but when you afford her that space at the top of the key, things are just not going to go well for you. And I think the more troubling part of the more troubling segment has been the past two games, or at least the game against Phoenix on, I believe it was Thursday night. Head coach Sandy Brondello was not pleased with the team's effort, and she was not pleased with the way the team responded to its first stretch of facing opponents with consecutive opponents with winning records. They faced the Atlanta Dream on Tuesday night, and then they faced Phoenix on Thursday. Atlanta and Phoenix are pursuing New York and Minnesota for the right to usurp them from the WNBA final spots. And, New York fell behind by 17 to Atlanta. And then Coach Brondell was not pleased with the effort against Atlanta. She was a little more pleased with what they were able to do on Sunday night, which saw a severely shorthanded Liberty group keep pace with the Seattle Storm, another team off to a solid start. Seattle, took that game last night 89-79, but New York did a solid job keeping pace with them, working through several injuries, which now include Sabrina Ionescu, who missed yesterday's game with what Coach Brondell described as a quote, kink in the neck. She should be ready for Wednesday night's game in Golden State, but New York has severely missed that sense of spacing. They've missed that length with both Jonquel Jones and Leonie Fibishow. Jonquel Jones, of course, is out for the next 4 to 6 weeks at least, so it should be interesting to see how the Liberty overcome this stretch. Last year's success, last year's championship run, was built off, relative luck in the health department, but it was also built off the success of Death Stars. It was great to see, the headliners rise to the occasion in Game 5 of the WNBA Finals last fall, but was more or less fully defined by Death Stars rising to the occasion, including Leonie Fibish, including Niara Sabali. So this should be an interesting stretch from the Liberty, and something we're going to end a period where we're going to learn a lot about this group. I think they were not pleased with the way things transpired against the Mercury. That's the game where Jonquel Jones, re-injured her right ankle, and they were not pleased with the way they came out. They were not pleased with the way things came forward. But against Seattle, they were more pleased with the way they were physical in that game. They were pleased with their sense of resilience, and they were pleased with the way they can work with this group, especially if there are longer term injuries to deal with. Leonie Fibish, of course, is competing in the Eurobasket women's competition representing Germany. So she should be back by the end, but she should be back by the start of next month. Eurobasket runs through June 29th.
And Geoff, I want to move over to the New York Knicks now and get your take on a big move they made, parting ways with head coach Tom Thibodeau, their most effective coach in 25 years, really, since Jeff Van Gundy. And I also want to hear your thoughts on some other moves they should or should not make this offseason to keep that positive momentum going into next season.
What's an interesting thing about the Knicks right now is that, there is a void where there almost didn't have to be. But what's interesting about the Thibodeau situation, look, I think it's fair for the Knicks to say, look, we've gone as far as you can take us. We've done what we could. We've gone in the right direction. Thank you for that, but this was our ceiling at this point in time. But what should not be done? The Thibodeau era can be analyzed, it can be criticized. Its ending should not be celebrated, because Thibodeau got this team back on the right track, and for fans and observers to kind of dilute his progress, dilute what was created here, is not right. Thibodeau got this team on the right track. It was a volatile mix there were so many ways this could have gone wrong. What if Jalen Brunson didn't live up to his 9-figure contract? What if they came to instantly regret the Karl Anthony Towns trade? Instead, it's gotten the Knicks into what had been for a quarter century unprecedented territory. And the Knicks are now in a very, very, very interesting spot. The Eastern Conference is in a state of relative flux. There are several injuries across the landscape. We saw Jason Tatum get hurt against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Last night, we saw the unfortunate case of Tyrese Halliburton, suffer that painful Achilles injury. And of course, we wish everyone the best in those situations. These are tough situations to deal with, so we obviously wish the best. It gives the Knicks a unique opportunity. The East now is wide open in the sense that the Knicks could come back and they could be relatively strong. They have a year of chemistry to work together. We saw what happened in New York in Brooklyn, as a matter of fact, with the New York Liberty. Liberty Management really seemed to buy into the idea that, a year of working together with such a high profile group, a group that include downright historical talents coming in Jonquil Jones, in Brianna Stewart, they felt a year working together was truly the secret to taking that last step to a championship, and it paid off in their favor. That could be the same for the Knicks. It's really not in the New York nature to kind of work with. It's not in New York nature to stay quiet, more or less. They want to make a big move. They want to go out there and they want to make a big splash out there. But there is such a unique opportunity here. One manageable goal I've had for the Knicks over the past year, maybe year plus. I know divisions really don't mean much in the NBA anymore, but a good goal for them would have been to win the Atlantic Division. And, that would give them a chance to stay atop the Eastern Conference for a change, not worry about, home court advantage or facing an upstart team in the sixth seed. Last season, they were able to do that pretty well, earning the second seed. So, what the Knicks need more right now is they need to work on some depth right now. I would personally try to foster some of this young talent that they got rolling in there. Tyler Kolek, Errol Huck-Porty, they turned out to be second round gems. And with Thibodeau gone, there is now an opportunity to foster this young talent. For all his success, Thibodeau really didn't, trust any of the rookies much of a sense. Again, to bring up the Pacers in the NBA Finals, we saw Obi Toppin. Of course, Obi Toppin was somewhat sidelined by Julius Randle's breakout, but he never found a role in New York. And while it feels like he'll never live up to his top 10 billing, he is assured a decently long NBA career for the way he has risen as a Death Star in Indianapolis. So there's a unique opportunity for the Knicks at this point. Boston and Indiana will be dealing with major long-term injuries to their franchise phases. Milwaukee, who knows what to think of them? Cleveland, I think we saw the holes poked through the Cavaliers this time around once they made it to the second round and lost to the Pacers. Of course, there were some injuries to deal with, but there is a unique opportunity for the Knicks. They have to worry about basically they could make some big moves, but whether they should is another question entirely.
Well, the season will be here before we know it. Geoff Magliocchetti, thanks as always so much.
Mike, appreciate your time and insight. Keep up the good work, sir. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Well, that's it for this week's show. I'll see you next Monday. For all New Jersey sports and news, head over to ONNJ.com.